Do you think GIFs are still like the coolest thing ever? And do you long for that look of the early days of the internet? Well, look no further than Modify's Dither modifier. I'm Dave from Modify, and I'll be showing you around this simple but remarkably effective modifier. This totally free, non-destructive effect, along with many more, and example projects, are all available on modify.com. So head over there, check the effects tab at the top, and then scroll down to Dither. On this page you'll see 3 great example projects. We're going to look at this CRT Skull one later on, but for now let's jump into the main Dither example project and look at what properties are available for us. Okay, here we are in the main Dither example project, and like all of these example projects, it is worth just stepping through the layers tree on the left hand side here just to make sure we understand exactly what each layer and modifier is up to in the project. So I'm just going to strip this right back, go back to its base, which is this 2-color gradient. The 2-color gradient is set into angular mode, and if I move this around you can see this is providing the gradient at the bottom. In fact, I'm just going to undo that, make sure I put it back where it was, and I'm not sure how clearly this will come across in the video, but it has this sort of noise effect in the gradient. This is provided by this scatter property here. If I bring this down you get a much smoother gradient, and then bring this up, there's a bit of noise introduced there. Okay, cool. Above the 2-color gradient we have a simple brush stroke, and the brush stroke has been made with the 2-color stroke mode enabled, so we have different ends at either end of the brush stroke and there's a gradient between them. And then on top of that we have a hue and saturation modifier with a motion effect, a sawtooth or oscillator added to it that's cycling through those hue values. And like all vectors and anything within Modify, we can alter these during the animation. We don't have to pause the animation to alter anything, to go back and change it. It's all non-destructive, so I'm going to make sure I put that back because it was beautiful how it was. Okay, that's the brush group. Above the brush group we have something very cool. We have this sort of mesh looking grid thing here, and believe it or not, this is made from a single pen stroke with modifiers on top of it. So don't want to get too distracted, but this is definitely worth looking at. If I turn all of these effects off, we start here with just a single pen stroke. If I put a repeater on top of that, oh no, I've left a pinch modifier on. I've spoiled the effect somewhat. But let's go back to this single pen stroke. On top of that is a repeater, giving these diagonal parallel lines. On top of that is another repeater, giving perpendicular diagonal lines, and then on top of that we've already seen one of them, but we have 2 pinch modifiers. So if I drag around this pinch modifier here, you can see how that is affecting the grid and everything below it. I can twist it here. I will do a separate video about pinch, and we'll go into this in more detail and all the crazy cool things you can do with it, but let's carry on looking at Dither for the rest of this video. Okay, above the grid we have the word Dither. This is provided by a basic text layer with some a 2-color gradient on top of that, and then on top of the 2-color gradient we have a repeater which is providing this sort of extrusion shadow effect on the word. Okay, above everything, so affecting everything in the project below, is a Dither modifier, and if I turn this on you can see the full retro effect. It's like being in the 90s. Look at it go. On the Dither modifier, the number of steps are being animated, and that's why we're seeing this change at the moment going through it. Okay, let's move over now to the right hand side of the app and start with our common properties here that are across every layer and modifier. I have an opacity control, so I can bring the overall opacity of the Dither modifier down. And I also have full blend mode control. I was playing with this a little bit earlier, and when you come down to sort of this difference section here, you can get some really wild effects. I love this exclusion one. I'm not going to leave it on there because I'm not going to lie, it sort of hurts my eyes a bit. But let's set this back to replace and then look at these Dither specific properties. So we have a type here, and we have 4 types available. We have a 2x2, a 4x4 matrix and an 8x8 matrix. And then if you want more of a randomized look of how the pixels are quantized, then you can choose this noise mode here. In fact, I'm just going to make this zoom in a bit so it's a little bit clearer of the difference between them. So you can see this 2x2 very uniform effect here that uses a 2x2 matrix, the same but a 4x4 matrix, 8x8, and then noise, which is more random. Again, if you want to go through them a little bit zoomed out, you can really see that 2x2 grid, and you can see how it expands as I cycle through them. And then noise is a random, much less uniform effect. That's the one that's used in this project. Okay, below type we have pixel size, very simple property, super easy to understand. If I put the pixel size up, the resolution goes down and down, and the quality goes up. So if I wanted the sort of a very good, very subtle effect, I'd choose a very small pixel size. If I wanted something that was a bit ridiculous, I'd put it all the way up. You can barely see it. You sort of can if you squint a little bit. Okay, let's put this back to where it was. Hey, number of steps means the number of options available in terms of gradient and color that the dither modifier will use. So a low number of steps means sort of the lowest number of options available. If I bring this up, we have a sort of more representative option. So if you wanted the highest quality output you could get, you'd have a very low pixel size and a very high step size, and then the opposite of that is obviously a very low step size and very high number pixel size. Okay, I'm just going to step that back. Okay, and then the final option, simple one, is just a grayscale toggle. If you want to turn that on and off, get that really lo-fi mono effect there. Okay, that is a super quick run through all the properties in Dither. It is definitely worth checking out our website, again back on the effects tab here. There are some really cool projects in the Dither example page. Let's just jump into this CRT school one very quickly and see what's happening here, because this is a particularly effective use of this. If I play the animation here, see this really cool sort of wobbling CRT skull effect. The dither here is a dither at the top that's providing a very minute amount of detail around the edge here. If I turn this up, you'll see this. So if I strip that back and go all the way back through the modifiers, 1 second. Nope, don't want to turn the whole thing off, just the lens distort. Lens distort obviously providing this sort of the CRT aspect of the effect. There's a great separate video that I put together on the CRT lens distortion. That's worth a look at if you're interested. And then if I come back down here, you see this all starts with a very normal picture of a skull, threshold on top, inverted, stretched ever so slightly, and then look at that effect that the dither's having there. Solid color to remove the black, change it to blue, and then when we add in all of the rest, we get this really cool effect. I'll put the link to this one in the video as well. So, okay, that was the dither modifier. I hope that you enjoyed our trip back to the 90s together. And please let us know what you want to see. Which modifier do you want to see next? I promised you a pinch video, so I'll make that. But if there's anything more you want to know, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, please let us know. Like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.